Hello and welcome to Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes.
And I'm Kenzie Benali.
And this evening, Southampton take on Burnley in the Premier League at Turf Moor. The Clarets are in a desperate search for points to escape the drop, while a win could take Southampton up to ninth in the table. And we've got loads to cover tonight, and do make sure to get your comments in as well. But let's welcome our guests for the show this evening. We have former Southampton captain Dean Hammond and Premier League reporter Paul Belveston. Dean, gutted to miss you the other day on Saturday for the win against Arsenal. I hope you're keeping well.
I am, Stephen. It's good to see you back, mate. Good to see you. You're well yourself. But yeah, we missed you, mate. But it was a great game. Brilliant result, and the atmosphere at St Mary's was fantastic. So yeah, we enjoyed it. But we missed you, Steve.
Thank you very much. And Paul, good to see you too. Did you make it to the game on Saturday?
You didn't miss me, no?
I said good. I wasn't there. How can I miss you?
Yes, I was there on Saturday. I very, very much enjoyed it. With some North London connections in my back pocket, always very much enjoy seeing Arsenal lose and enjoy seeing Southampton win. So yeah, it was a cracking day, wasn't it?
It certainly was. Good stuff.
It was indeed. Well, lovely to have you both with us as always, and lovely to have you back, Steve, as we say. Well, let's get to team news now then, because we will be able to bring you the official team news in just under 15 minutes time. But in terms of early news, really nothing to bring you. You can see the live scenes of the players arriving at Turf Moor. All players available as far as we know, but Ralph has suggested that Lyanco may not be able to feature in 3 games in a week. So Dean, with that in mind, do you expect different personnel for this evening and perhaps a change in formation as well?
It's really interesting, Kenzie. It will be interesting to see what the manager decides to do after such a brilliant result at the weekend and an excellent team performance. A change of formation, possibly. I could see that happening. And personnel with 3 games in a week, with the game at the weekend, the game tonight, and then the game against Brighton on Sunday. The strength within the squad as well. You looked at the strength of the bench at the weekend. Some players on there that you would expect to be in the starting 11. And obviously with the game tonight, a different opposition, different approach. You expect Southampton to have a little bit more possession tonight. Maybe try and create more chances. So will there be more attacking players on the pitch potentially? But the strength in depth is really, really healthy at Southampton. So I'm sure there's some really difficult decisions for the manager to make. But I'd like to see 3 centre-halves again. I personally would. I think it worked very, very well. But I think the next stage of the development as a team has been able to play with that formation, but potentially have more of the ball and create more chances. So it'd be interesting to see. But I think potentially the manager will go back to a 4 at the back, and maybe go back to the formation that we're used to, and try and win this game and take the game to Burnley, which is different from the weekend where we sat in very compact and defended very, very well. So it'd be interesting to see.
Given the fact that things went so well on Saturday, Paul, do you think Ralph will stick with the same team tonight?
No, I'd be very surprised if he did, simply because it was kind of a 5-4-1 formation, wasn't it? Really, a reaction to the Chelsea hammering. Because that performance was so poor. I think he really just wanted to, okay, let's start again, reset, and then let's go at them. And Burnley are very, very wedded to 4-4-2. So yeah, I agree with Dean. I'd expect Ralph to sort of match them up, go back to what they're more familiar with. They do switch to a 3 at the back quite regularly mid-game, but don't often start with it. I think against Chelsea in the League Cup, against Tottenham, they're the couple of times we've seen Jan Valery in the starting 11, aren't we? Not too often, again, against Arsenal. So you mentioned Lyanco. I think this would be a cracking game for him because Burnley are quite physical, quite direct. So he clearly relishes that sort of battle. But whether he can play again after a couple of months out, I'd like to see Shea Adams back in. I think he was unlucky to lose his place. And perhaps we'll see a bit of rotation in the fullbacks. Tino Livramento coming back in. But yeah, there are so many options there, so many good players who've been on the bench, who've been on the fringe, who haven't really had many minutes recently that must be chomping at the bit. I'd be surprised if it was the same starting 11, yeah.
Well, before we reflect on last week's match, let's get to some comments that are coming into us from the fans. Vishnal getting in touch. Hello to you. He says Turf Moor is a hard place to go, so he's going for a 1-0 win to the Saints. Chloe Bayliss, hello. Southampton will win 2-0. Love the certainty in that comment. Harvey, hello. He says, come on you Reds. And Owen is going for a 3-1 win to the Saints. He thinks it will be Brozier, James Ward-Prowse and Carl Walker-Peters with the goals. Dean, let's look back on the game against Arsenal now, though. And really, there is just one place to start, isn't there? And that is, of course, with the performance of Fraser Forster. It certainly could have been a very different afternoon without him.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a fantastic individual performance from Fraser. Inspiring, really. The saves he made were fantastic. The timing of the saves as well. And I mentioned it after the game of the weekend, the strength in his hands as well, in terms of not only making the save, but getting the rebound of the ball away from danger and getting it away from the opposition. I mean, this save from Saka is exceptional. The speed he gets across the goal to anticipate where it's going to go, to get the strength of the hand for such a big guy as well. And this guy save from Smith Rowe, he kind of saves it twice. Is he expecting the deflection? He kind of goes with his left hand and then moves again to save it and get a really strong hand to the left-hand side. So, Fraser was brilliant. And these saves were so important in the game and played a huge part in why Southampton got the victory, why Southampton got a clean sheet. And he's been great because he actually, it sounds silly losing 6-0, he actually performed okay against Chelsea and made some very, very good saves. And he would have been disappointed with that because it wouldn't have reflected well on Southampton or himself individually. But again, this save from Xhaka is brilliant. His positioning was very, very good. And it's great to see because he's a big guy. He has a big presence. And I think he's done very, very well since he's got his opportunity and then come in the team and just performed very, very well. And he was exceptional at the weekend. He really, really was. Deserved man of the match. And to beat the big teams, you need those individual performances, whether it's from your goalkeeper, whether it's a striker getting a goal and having an exceptional game. Fraser Forster was absolutely brilliant at the weekend.
Just one goal in the game, a scorer, an unlikely scorer in the form of Jan Bednarek. It was a rather instinctive finish, but it came at a great time in the match, Paul.
Can we put this to bed? There's no way this was Jan Bednarek. It must have been Shay Adams in a Bednarek mask, wasn't it? Centre-backs can't finish like this. What's the game coming to? It was remarkable, wonderful finish. And like you said, on the stroke of half-time, it gave everyone a lift. It would have really sucked the life out of the Arsenal dressing room, you would have thought, at that break. But, Roman Perraud, amazing vision, eyes in the back of his head, but let's have a word for Elyounoussi. I'm sure you've spoken about him many times this season, but what a turnaround. He's completely transformed from the guy we saw come to Southampton in 2018, a season that he only made 8 Premier League starts. He really struggled. He had lots of injuries, stop-start, went away. And then who goes away on a 2-year loan and then comes back and first of all asks for a second chance, and then second of all finds a way back into the team to feature in pretty much every game. So he did very well latching onto that ball from Perraud, cutting it back, and the finish was extraordinary. And you've got to be really pleased for Bednarek as well, who had this incredible habit of all of his goals would put Southampton 2-0 up in games they'd go on to lose 3-2. So he put an end to that this season, I think, by scoring against Leicester earlier on. And yeah, he's performing well. After a bit of a sticky start this season, he's performing well at both ends of the pitch now.
Yeah, he certainly is. And as you say, I'm sure we'll be glad to put that to bed. But Dean, that is his 4th goal of the season so far. So that is more goals this season than he's scored in the past 4 seasons combined. Now, that can't be a fluke, can it? So what is he doing differently to be getting on the score sheet so much this campaign?
I don't think it's just him, Kenzie. You've got to be grateful for the delivery he gets from James Ward-Prowse. That's exceptional. I think the variety in the delivery as well, as we're seeing from the goal against Leicester, the short free kick. So the team obviously work at it in training. From Bednarek's point of view, I think his timing of his movement is very, very good. His willingness to attack the ball is very, very good. So I think that's definitely improved. I think another thing that would have improved is that potentially he's the the player that is identified to attack the ball. He's the main threat. Last year probably had Vestergaard, who was the main threat because of his physical presence. So Bednarek has probably taken up that position. So he's looked for more. But also Southampton's size, if you look at their physical presence, it's very difficult for the opposition to cover every player. If you look at Salisu, Bednarek, Lyanco, Brozier, Shea Adams, Oriol Romeo, there's lots of players there that can attack the ball. And I think Southampton's movement's very, very good. And also from his goal at the weekend against Arsenal, his willingness to stay in the moment. The ball's been cleared. He's not thinking about, right, I need to recover. I need to get back into position and think about my defensive duties. He's been brave. He's taken the opportunity to stay within there, and he's got his goal from that. And his finishing has improved. Paul just mentioned it. His finishing for that of his left foot it was fantastic. It really, really was. Very, very composed. Didn't panic. Could have tried to slash at the ball and put so much power in it, but it was a good connection on the ball. So lots of things, I think. But if you look at his movement and his willingness and his aggressive movement to really try and attack the ball, I think that's been a difference for him, and I think he can continue to get more goals each season.
Yeah, let's hope so. Well, we've got about 5 minutes to go until the official team news is out, but Ralph has been speaking about it, so let's hear from the boss now.
What's the team news ahead of your next Premier League match?
So far, no big issues injury-wise. Gives me the moment a lot of options for the team selection, and not always easy, but better this part that we can change a few things, and we will see what we do. Burnley, different way of playing football, different opponent, a little bit harder in the moment for preparing because of the new situation. It is there, but you know the team, you know the players, and so the some smaller changes they have made also in the last game against West Ham. You have to take care of them and then find hopefully a good squad that is competitive.
Belfers, we mentioned earlier at the top of the show that there's a possibility Lyanco could be rested tonight, given that he has come back from injury so recently. What did you make of his performance on Saturday? And you've just got to love his passion as well, don't you?
Absolutely wonderful, isn't it? I mean, he knows how to get fans on his side. He's only made, I think, 15 appearances this season, but already a favourite with all the Saints supporters, because who doesn't love someone who clearly loves defending as much as he does? He was going wild at some of the challenges that he and his teammates were putting in to deny Arsenal, and that's always going to get everyone going. A lot of people weren't convinced with him early on. I think he struggled in the League Cup a little bit, didn't look like this was perhaps his level, but then that's what we do these days, isn't it? We leap to ridiculous conclusions after one or two appearances. He was tremendous around Christmas time. I think he got unlucky with COVID, didn't he? Then unlucky with this hamstring injury that's kept him out for a couple of months, 10 weeks. It is the big question. Can he play with so many games coming up so thick and fast? When does the manager choose to rest him? Is it tonight? I mentioned earlier that I think this is the sort of battle that he'll absolutely relish, and he'll be walking around with a big smile on his face after battling with Weghorst and Rodriguez and whoever else they might put up. But, he helps the whole back line as well, because he's got great strength, incredible calmness, and he takes responsibility. He's only 24 years old, but you can always see him being very vocal, gesturing, pointing, putting people into their right positions and that sort of thing. And that's not a role that seems to come naturally to Jan Bednarek or Mohamed Salisu, who he obviously replaced at the weekend. So all of those attributes are only going to serve Southampton very, very well in the seasons to come. And he could grow into a real great at the back for Southampton.
Yeah, he certainly could. And as you say, just love the passion from him for sure. Well, team news coming your way in less than 1 minute now. So just enough time to get a few more comments in from those of you watching along at home. Rosemary Rickett is with us. Hello to you. She says she's got my lucky sweatshirt on, so it's going to be a Saints win. Oh, I love that. Thanks, Rosemary. Tara also getting in touch. She says, hope to see Lyanco again. Well, you'll find out very, very shortly. Des Matthews says, come on, you Reds, 3 points tonight, please. And Andy Silver also getting in touch. He says, Saints for the win. Lovely to hear from you all as always. Do make sure that you continue to keep those comments coming into us. But for now, we can bring you the team news. The embargo is over, and I can reveal that it is an unchanged starting 11. So let's take you through the Saints team in full now, shall we? In goal, Fraser Forster. We are sticking with the three centre halves, Jan Bednarek, Lyanco and Jan Valery. The wing-backs, Carl Walker-Peters and Roman Perro. Then in the midfield, it's Oriol Romeo alongside our captain, James Ward-Prowse, who makes his 300th appearance, the Premier League appearance tonight for Southampton. Then it's Stuart Armstrong, Moy Elyounoussi and Armando Broja, who complete the Saints lineup. Then the Saints substitutes are as follows: Willy Caballero, Mohamed Salisu, Tino Livramento, Ibrahima Diallo, Nathan Redmond, Nathan Teller, Shane Long, Shay Adams and Adam Armstrong. So let's come to you first then, Paul. What do you make of tonight's lineup? Because of course we were always predicting an unchanged starting 11, right?
I'm not surprised at all. It's exactly what I was expecting. I am, very, very surprised. I mean, look, they performed extremely well at the weekend against Arsenal, but that was a game where Southampton only had 24% possession. They were very much looking to defend deep, weren't doing the usual sort of high pressing intensity type game that we're used to. And Burnley do not play like Arsenal. So I am very surprised. But in fairness, short time to prepare, and perhaps there's a bit more left in the tank to counter-attack after sitting so deep. But no, I think there's, they're all good players. They know their roles. And while it's the same lineup, I think it'll be a very different performance from Ralph Hasenhüttl's team tonight. And Rosemary's got a lucky sweater, so all will be well.
Absolutely, of course. Well, Dean, you said interestingly that you thought we would go back to the 4-2-2-2, but you would like to see us sticking with the same formation. How pleasing is that to see this evening?
Well, it's interesting. Like Paul said, I didn't expect it, but I think it's probably a reward to the players for the performance they put in at the weekend, that they all keep the shirts. I think it maybe do something that the manager's seen something in the analysis from Burnley, maybe against the West Ham game where they drew 1-1. He's seen something that he feels as though keeping the same team will benefit them. The quick turnaround, Paul mentioned that, not having time to maybe change the team and work on tactics as much as you possibly want to. But the team performed very, very well. And if you look at the subs bench, you look at the impact that the players can have coming on later in the game. The attacking players are on the bench that can really change the game. I think the manager is very, very pleased with the clean sheet at the weekend. And it's something to build upon from the amount of goals that Southampton have conceded of late. So a sensible decision, I think. And the team will be very, very confident. There'll be a lot of belief in that team from the result of the weekend. And I agree with Paul. I think it will be a little bit of a different approach. You'll see Broja will get more support from the midfield players. There'll be more midfield runs. I think the wing backs will play a little bit higher up the pitch and be almost like wingers at times. So I expect Southampton to be a little bit more on the front foot. But I think it works and it's sensible with the amount of crosses that Burnley are going to try and put in the box and the amount of times they're going to try and get down the sides of Southampton. So we'll see. But yeah, surprising.
Dean, I'm going to stick with you for this one. Burnley are a traditionally physical team and they replaced Chris Wood with Wout Weghorst in January. Is that a sort of challenge that you can see Lyanco relishing coming up against a striker like that?
I think so, definitely. I think Lyanco loves that physical battle. He loves to be aggressive with his opponent. I've seen that in every game he's played at. He likes to be on the front foot. He reads the game very, very well. And I think with the three centre-halves, I think that helps. And maybe that's why the manager's gone with the decision with the amount of crosses and the physical presence that Burnley have in attack, because they do like to get the ball wide, and every opportunity, whether it's the fullbacks or the wingers, they get crosses in the box and they ask questions of you defensively, whether it's a header, a clearance, a second ball. So yeah, Lyanco, I think will look forward to this. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts from his 90 minutes of the weekend after being out injured. Can he play another 90 minutes in such a quick turnaround? But like Paul said, he enjoys defending. He loves it. He does it with a passion and he thrives off it. So it's great to see. And also, I think he makes Bednarek a better player because he takes that responsibility away of being the main defender. And Bednarek can bring his qualities and his attributes into the game. So, yeah, looking forward to this, but a good game for Lyanco. And if you're looking at the 3 games in a week, probably more appropriate to playing tonight than maybe against Brighton on Sunday.
Well, Ralph sticking with those 3 centre-backs, Paul, and in the wing-back positions, he's chosen Kyle Walker-Peters and Roman Perraud. What are your thoughts on that?
He's got 3 wonderful wing-backs, hasn't he, full-backs that, fantastic problem to have in some ways that you can only really pick 2 of them. I spoke to Tino Livramento this week, actually, and it was interesting because, of course, his only goal came against Burnley in the home game, and back then he was absolutely flying. He has been set back a bit, I think, by the injury that kept him out of 6 weeks or so. But judging a 19-year-old on that ridiculous flying start that he made, and suggesting he should be hitting those heights in the Premier League every single week is very, very harsh, especially when he himself said that he came to Southampton this summer only expecting to play in an occasional cup game and maybe a couple of minutes off the bench when a game was won. So, he has hugely surpassed expectations that he arrived with himself, hugely surpassed expectations, I think, that everyone else had when his signing was announced. And the other 2, Livramento kept Kyle Walker-Peters out of the team initially, which was just astonishing given the season and a half that Walker-Peters had before this summer just gone. He is a wonderful player and such a startlingly good young man as well. These are 3 very young men who are all performing very, very well. I spoke to Walker-Peters the other day. One of the things that we were talking about today is the 5th anniversary of Ugo Ehiogu's death. He's 24 years old, and the way he spoke about going through that 5 years ago was remarkable. When he plays on the left of the 4 or the 5, there is no drop off in quality, even though he is right-footed. He's tremendous going forward, tremendous coming back as well. Opposition wingers get no change out of him. And Roman Perraud as well has only benefited from these other 2 being so good as well, because he's had to up his game. Again, a slightly slow start this season, but has been tremendous in recent weeks. I was there at the Tottenham game when he rattled the bar. He did it again, didn't he? The next week against Manchester United, and then scored against West Ham in the Cup, which wasn't a bad one at all. And he's getting in attacking positions more and more often without giving up anything in the defensive side of things. So I think, these 3 are real tribute to the work that Ralph Hasenhüttl and his team have done, identifying those as problem areas, because in seasons gone by, at this stage of the season, and perhaps a month or 2 earlier, Southampton have been down to just 1 fit fullback. They've had to put round pegs in square holes, the likes of James Ward-Prowse, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. They were all filling in at right back, and that wasn't good at all. Now, they've even in reserve, Thierry Small, huge potential there, very highly rated. He's hardly got a look in yet, but again, he will surely be learning wonderful things and making great progress from having these 3 other guys performing so well.
Yeah, they've all been outstanding, haven't they? Well, let's bring the chat on to today's opponents, Burnley, now then. Dean, when Burnley visited St Mary's earlier on in the season, it was an entertaining 2-2 draw. Talk us through that one, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, it was an excellent game, Kenzie. I think we did the show live, that game, so we were actually at the game. We saw the qualities, I saw the qualities firsthand of Cornet. Burnley went ahead against the runner play, I think, in the game. Southampton were very, very good in this first half, and as we're going to see, created lots and lots of chances. Had good possession of the ball. Nathan Redmond kind of played that centre forward role, or number 10 just off Brozier. The chance from Theo Walcott, we were attacking with pace and purpose. I don't think Redmond will want to see this one again. His opportunity that he's missed, and still surprised now that he missed it. But he had a really good performance that game, especially in the first half. And Southampton were excellent. Livramento, again, like Paul mentioned, getting down the wings of those attacking runs and hitting the post, and then getting his goal from a set piece. So in this first half, Southampton were excellent. They really, really were. And this goal from Brozier, the ball from Diallo, actually, the first time pass was exceptional. But this is where Brozier was coming into his own, and we were seeing how good he was, and what a young star he is, and his quality in front of goal. And then Cornet again gets an equaliser out of nothing. Again, probably the runner against the runner play in the second half, because Southampton were that dominant. But Burnley came on strong and showed their qualities within the game. So it was a really entertaining game, and probably a fair result at that time. And Southampton were coming into good form in that moment, performing very, very well. And that first half against Burnley was one of the best first halves I think we saw, or we have seen this season. Very, very attacking, created lots of chances, and exciting to watch. And it was great to watch live.
Yeah, we could see Sean Dyche in the dugout for Burnley during that game. No longer with them. He's been relieved of his duties, a rather unexpected sacking. A roll of the Dyche, if you will, from the owners in order to keep them in the Premier League. Paul, you're a man with his finger on the pulse in the footballing world. What do you make of that sacking?
Can't match that pun. That was very, very good. Very
been working on it for hours.
He's been desperate to get that in there.
It was a huge surprise to me. I didn't see it coming at all. I don't understand the timing of it. It's incredible that this will be the first home game Burnley have had without him in the dugout for nearly a decade. The fans aren't a great fan of this decision. I'm told there's going to be some big round of applause for him at some stage. So the atmosphere is going to be peculiar. It's potentially not going to be helpful to the home side in a game they desperately need to win. It's hard to imagine anyone doing a better job than Sean Dyche has, and indeed could have carried on doing, with the resources that Burnley can offer anyone in that dugout. He brought them up to the Premier League for the first time since the mid-70s, I think it was. They got relegated, but he brought them straight back up, and they have beaten all of the big guns in their time in the Premier League. They are direct, but they're not hoof-it merchants. We've seen Maxwell Cornet just now in those highlights from the home game at St Mary's. He brings in footballers as well. So I don't understand it. The other thing about it is that if you're going to make a change so late on in the season, normally you would have someone lined up to come straight in. This is their second game with a caretaker boss and a caretaker team. So it's a very hard one to get your head around. I've not read a huge amount about the background to it, but everything I have read has pretty much all just been tributes to Sean Dyche and the amazing job he's done, taking the club into Europe and a 7th place finish in the Premier League a couple of seasons ago. Look, this season hasn't been great for them. I think only 4 Premier League wins in 31 games, but he has a track record of getting them out of trouble, and they have the lowest budget in the Premier League by some distance. I think from Burnley today, their point of view, I don't think we're going to see any great shifts from what we would have seen under Sean Dyche. It's going to be 4-4-2 again, and from that point of view, I think Southampton are going to be well versed in what to expect, the sort of tough game that they've got up against them now. But the timing of this might perhaps play into Southampton's hands a little bit.
Yeah, Dean, would love to get your thoughts as well on Dyche's departure, and as Belvis has just touched on, the fact that they haven't appointed a permanent manager yet.
It's surprising, Kenzie. It really is. I was surprised when I read the news. I think it's a dangerous decision. Really, really is, because he's done a remarkable job. He's not only won promotions, but he's built the football club over the 10 years he's been there. I'm told that the training ground is a completely different place now, and he's had huge parts in that. The values he's brought to the football club. I know a couple of the players there, and they speak very, very highly of him. And it's going to be strange for the players to not have their leader there. And the surprising thing for me is the fact that if Burnley are going to go down, which they probably are, he's the perfect manager to bring them back up. I think that's the biggest surprise for me, along with the fact that if they were going to do it, they haven't done it earlier and haven't brought someone else in. That, usually when you make a big decision like this, is because there's someone else that you feel can maybe potentially do a better job within the short period and keep you within the Premier League. And they haven't acted. Whether they thought they were going to be able to bring someone in and it hasn't happened for whatever reason, I'm not sure. potentially there's been a disagreement with the people higher up within the club, or the club with that dangerous decision suddenly want to go in a different direction, suddenly want a different style of play, want a different philosophy. But this is Burnley Football Club. They've been competing in the Premier League against some huge clubs. So he's done a brilliant job, and he won't be out of football for very long because his reputation is so big, really, because of the job he's done. But it will be strange for the players, and I agree with Paul. This could work in favour of Southampton tonight.
Yeah, rather surprising move this close to the end of the season, and it is the home stretch. Now, last season Southampton only managed 7 points from their remaining 8 games. Paul, how important is it for the Saints to beat last season's points tally of 43?
It's not going to lead to an open top bus tour, but from inside the club, I think it's very, very important. You always want to show progress. You always want to improve on the season before, and that's what Saints have done in the past couple of seasons. And this one, going past 43 points again with a lot of progress, it would sort of cement the progress that has been quite clear so far. Anyway, the fact that it's been a bit of a transition time in terms of the squad. There's been a few players who've gone and a few players have come in, and a lot of more young players establishing themselves in the squad, and a big change in the boardroom, of course, new owners coming in. So all of these things to show progress in terms of the Premier League table and the points total, I think would be tremendous. And only 4 points needed to surpass last season's points total, and also that was it 7 points from 8 games at the end of last season. There is an argument, I'm not sure everyone buys into it, but there's an argument that says if you finish a season strongly, it helps you at the start of the next season. And of course, finishing last season poorly, Southampton did start this season slowly. So it certainly can't hurt from that point of view to finish this one strongly. And you look at the games remaining, Burnley and then Brighton, Palace, Brentford, Liverpool at home, of course, is going to be very, very difficult. Leicester away to finish. None of those are easy games, but that's the old cliche. No easy games in the Premier League. You can see scenarios where if you're a glass half empty kind of person, then you can say Southampton are going to have to really tough it out, really, really battle to get those extra points that they need to go past last season's points total. But if you're a half glass full merchant, then they could finish very, very strongly. You can make a case pretty comfortably for picking up a maybe 3 wins in that run, and very much securing a top 10 finish and resulting in a big amount of positivity. Last season, I was going to use the word distraction. There was the FA Cup semi-final as well, which played into thinking, but no one wants to finish a season with 7 points from 8 games. This season has great potential to finish on a real high, and that can only be a good thing going into the summer and next season.
Absolutely. And we are all glass half full here on Saints Live, of course, aren't we? Of course.
Certainly.
Well, we will come to you two in just a moment for your score predictions. But to give you a bit of food for thought, let's see what the fans think. Jordan Nichols is going for a 2-0 win to the Saints tonight. Stephen Townsend getting in touch. Hello to you. He says need a strong finish to the season, starting with 3 points tonight. Kirsty, hello. Come on, the Saints. Let's go marching into the top 10 this evening. Matt Brown says, come on, you Reds. Looking forward to the game, as are we, Matt. And Peter on YouTube says, Perro looks like he will run through brick walls for the team. I like that. He does, doesn't he?
Yeah, very confident bunch of fans there predicting a win tonight. But let's hear what our guests have to say. Dean, let's come to you first. What are you predicting for this evening?
Here we go, glass half full.
I think this is Burnley would have identified this game as one they need to win. They've got 4 home games left of the season, and they're to stand any chance of avoid being relegated. They'll need to win those home games. But I think with the formation that the manager's gone with the personnel, the confidence and the belief from the weekend, I'm going to go for another clean sheet and another 1-0 win for Southampton.
Fantastic. And positive, Paul, what are we saying?
I can see a clean sheet again as well. Yeah, I was always worry about former players coming up against teams, but Saints have played Jay Rodriguez many, many times in the past, and Jack Cork never scores. so he can't possibly get on the score sheet today. I think I agree. Clean sheet. I think with the Burnley will be looking to attack aerially around the box, but then those three defenders in the middle, I think, will happily see off that threat. And I see a couple of goals. I'm going 2-0.
Okie dokes. Like the sound of both of those, both predicting clean sheets. Well, thank you to you both for joining us as always. We look forward to catching up with you after the game. And of course, thank you to all of you who have tuned in and watched along with us tonight as well. With Southampton searching for back-to-back wins when they take on Burnley this evening. Kickoff is at 7:45, and as always, we will be back with you after the game for the final whistle. So make sure you join us then. Bye for now.
See you soon.